Setting boundaries, a lesson for us all. As a person who has spent so much of his own life not seeing the importance of setting boundaries, I can learn something too. Emily Madill is a best-selling author and is a frequent contributor to the Marc Bernier Radio Program. And you'll see information about Emily under our contributors page of our website. She joins us live today on WNDB, where she has been battling the same ailment that so many of us have had, the loss of a voice. But since she is an athlete, she knew that she was ready to come on the program today because she went out for a run. She joins us live. Emily, is it still there? Is the voice still there?
I'm here, Mark. How you doing?
Well, I'm good, thank you. All right. Why is it important that we set boundaries? What if we don't set the boundaries, what happens?
Well, I think, when we don't set healthy boundaries, we can kind of become like a doormat for other people, and we do lose our voices. And, we don't really honor that inner voice that we have. And the authentic parts of who we are, I think, get lost when we go around without having healthy boundaries in place.
Okay. Give us examples of what might be setting healthy boundaries. Obviously, it could be different ages of people, different situations, but let's talk about some of those places where you establish the boundaries. Who does the establishment? Would it be you, the person who has the realization there needs to be boundaries, or is that boundary set for you? Give us some examples.
Well, I think, Mark, everybody needs to set boundaries for themselves. It's kind of our own responsibility, just in life and in any kind of relationship, whether that, is in a romantic relationship or in parenting or in a business relationship. I think, the onus is on each of us to set boundaries, and how other people choose to receive those boundaries is kind of really on them.
Unfortunately, it can be a painful experience for youth if they have not been taught what boundaries are. You might end up either trespassing or you are invasive. For example, something could be as simple as the space that you are away from another person when you're speaking to them. If it's someone you could be more in their personal space. Seinfeld made a whole show out of close talkers and low talkers. But even the space that you are in conversing with another person could be established as a boundary.
Yeah, like the physical space. I get what you're saying. Yeah, for sure. And I guess that's kind of up to everybody to kind of communicate what that is that works, best for them. And I think, like you say, we can kind of have our boundaries, and that doesn't mean they're going to be well received by people around us. And I think it really goes back to just staying true to yourself and really holding that boundary, I think, is the hardest part. Like, it's one thing to acknowledge what it is that you want and to, go ahead and follow through and form that boundary. I think the challenging part, I know, has been definitely the case in my life, is holding that boundary, right? Because there's some guilt that can take place, or, fear around the other person's response or rejection or any of those things. But I think when we're really honest with ourselves and our feelings around what it is that we want, and we know that it will come with setting that boundary, we kind of, I guess the hard lesson is to really just let go of worrying about how other people are going to receive that. If you're doing it respectfully, obviously.
If people are being clear with each other as to what an expectation may be it a business arrangement or just an interpersonal relationship, then you don't have to come out verbally and declare what the boundaries are. I mean, that's awkward as all heck. If people know what's expected, whether it's contract negotiation or what, you don't have to set the boundaries. But if somebody doesn't know what the boundaries are and they're invasive, you have to sort of tell them. I can accept phone calls between this time and this time. You know what I'm saying? Or am I being too minutia?
I totally know what you're saying, and I think it can just kind of be done, like less is more. You know what I mean? Do it respectfully, do it kindly. Don't, stay the calm, the times that I've set boundaries where I've been really emotional and really charged, it doesn't go over very well, and then I end up feeling bad. But the times where I can kind of approach it calmly and respectfully of the other person, but also just, don't get into a big story about why. You don't owe apologies or stories around how you're feeling in certain circumstances, like just there's a way to do it gently, and I think people respond to that respectfully. And you know what, Mark? Some people don't,
Yeah.
They don't. And, I've had that circumstance in my life, and it's provided a lot of learning. And, I've gone through all the stages of that, with a difficult relationship in my life. And it's, I just finally had to kind of come to the point where the boundary is, just you're no longer welcome in my space, and to just be okay, like to honor myself and to, if I've tried every other thing to kind of, shed some light on it and to be respectful of the other person, but if they continue to be disrespectful of me or to not, to overstep those boundaries continuously, I've just come to a place in my life too where it's kind of like, another way to kind of look at it to, bring that comfort to yourself is to honor yourself enough to be okay with setting those boundaries for yourself. And if people choose to disrespect you or to, not want to conform to that, then it's okay to, I think, to just set that boundary for yourself and to honor yourself and to love yourself enough to just say, like, hey, it's not okay with me.
Let's talk about how this is done with children. We're talking with best-selling children's author Emily Madill, and you can read more about Emily's work at emilymadill.com. How do you handle it, and you have young children, how do you handle it with children to set the boundaries without hurting their feelings? Because children, as it was explained to me once, not to be a name dropper, but it was explained to me by Art Linkletter once. He said, children are like turtles. If you scare them or you're too abrupt, they might retreat into their shell. How do you set boundaries and do it constructively? Maybe you can share your own experience without running them off.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I mean, I think it's important to teach children boundaries because teaching that by example will help them to be successful when they're out in the world learning how to be. And so I think, again, it comes down, and it's hard being a parent too, it's like we all have good intentions, and sometimes we, don't always follow through with those the way we want to, but I think, hit the reset button. And for me, I find my kids are always more responsive when I'm calmer. And when I think, kids are people just like we are, and so it's the same as approaching an adult too. It's kind of just like do it respectfully, but I think with kids, what I'm learning is that it's important to hold the boundary, to follow through, right? Because they're smart, and if I say I'm going to do something, it's on me to also follow through with that, to kind of teach them that there is consequences and that I mean what I say and I say what I mean, right? So there's no confusion there. I think that's how they, learn the best.
Now, with two children, two small boys, I think their ages are, am I right, 5 and 7?
Yeah.
Okay. Do they both understand boundaries the same, or do you think one tries to move the line a little bit? Like they know where the boundaries are, but they try to move it.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, they're totally two different personalities. So, yeah, I would say they're different in that. Like one is a little bit more emotional than the other. And so, you kind of have to approach each child, again, respectfully and as a person. Like, and also not being too easy and letting, because life is about having boundaries, and, they need to learn how to be successful out in the world. So I think it's important to, be firm, but in a respectful way, and treat them as, the person that they are, like you would treat a friend. Well, I mean, like you would treat a friend, but also, I guess, in parenting, I try not to come across that I'm, their friend either.
Well, and it can be something as simple as maintaining distance when you're on the phone. For example, if you're on the phone with someone and one of them needed you, if it was something they really needed, obviously you're going to stop what you're doing, but sometimes children have to learn that there is a space. Okay, mom's on the phone, I'll get to her later. Or mom's door is closed, I'll come back.
Yeah.
things like that.
I think that comes with age too, right, Mark? Like,
Yeah.
There's a way to do things friendly and to teach them about respecting boundaries and all those things. I think a lot of that comes with age too.
Yeah, I'm still trying to.
Sorry.
I'm still trying to grow up. I mean, the original title for my book was going to be called Enter Talking, because I would walk into a room and start talking, and there might be somebody already in conversation, and I had to learn to enter the room and wait to see if and here I am at my age, and I should know better. But it took me a long time before I realized that. I think that instinctively, Emily, and you tell me, some people naturally know where the boundaries are, and others have to be taught.
I agree. I think some people are just a lot more self-aware and aware of, and a little bit more present, and just kind of pick up on, or maybe a little bit more sensitive. And so people are on different wavelengths, and they pick up things more than others. I definitely agree with you on that for sure.
Okay. Boundaries, you write, also teach respect. Once somebody knows where the boundaries are, they have more respect, I guess invariably, because they know where the limits are, correct?
Yeah, I think so. There's no wishy-washiness in it, and it's. I think it shows, for me, and what I've learned, and through just self-development and everything else, it kind of conveys, I think, self-respect. And when you're in conversation or out there in the world with other people, and you have a level of respect for yourself, and stand up for what you believe in, and you do it in with kindness and compassion, I think people are just naturally drawn to that and respect that. Even if they don't agree with it, I think there is, just a level of respect that takes place.
You're going through professional coaching training now with Erickson International College. When you come through that, you will be working with individuals and, I guess, teams. What will you do for these people?
Well, yeah, it's such a cool process. I'm really kind of immersed in it right now. And really, it's a really interesting process because people really come, and it's kind of almost like a self-led thing. It's just really about holding the space for people to explore where they want to go in their life, right? So if you had something where you wanted to, maybe have more inner peace. And these are people that are coming that are aware that it's, the onus really is on them to follow through with those steps. And it's really not like therapy. Maybe people have already kind of gone through that process, and now they're ready to kind of move forward and to kind of, whether it's in their workplace or relationships or whatever it is. So it's just a really cool process because you just kind of hold that space and ask really powerful questions to people to kind of help them gain those insights within themselves. And I think I've been having a lot of it. I've been coached quite a bit lately, as well as having the opportunity to coach other people, and it's a really interesting process because when people tell other people what to do, sounds to me like, you just really need to be more organized and set a schedule. It's kind of like, I don't know, people might be like, oh yeah, whatever, yeah, maybe I'll give that a try or whatever. But when somebody actually has that aha moment in themselves, and you say, well, what are some of the ways where you could get some more time for yourself, and why is it that you want to have more time for yourself? And then all of a sudden people are kind of going through these processes where they're really attaching the meaning for themselves. And really, I think that's how people can create change and improvement in their lives, is when it's really from themselves and self-led, and they have that kind of safe space to explore that, and somebody to, kind of hold them accountable. But it's a really interesting process. So I'm excited, to come out the other end of it and to develop that business and those skills further, because it's really cool.
And would it go without saying that people change as they get older? I mean, I used to be a person that always needed to be around people. Now I look forward to the solitude when I do have time, where there's no microphone or phone or computer or report that has to be done, where I can just be quiet and read and have no television on or anything, just being quiet. Maybe that's coming with age, but as a career person who is also a mother, you assist your husband with his business, you have your own business, you have 2 young children, you is your athleticism the outlet that gives you your space to give you your boundary?
Yeah, I think so. And, it's something I'm working on, too. And I'm constantly course correcting, right? It's kind of like, okay, this week I'm feeling really overwhelmed. I'm feeling a bit run down. What do I need to do, right? So it's really about kind of taking that accountable stance. What am I doing that's working well for me right now, and what could I do to kind of have, more improvement or more peace or whatever it is. And so for me, yes, it always comes down to having that time each day to be able to, move my body and exercise. It's a huge piece for me. And just having just a little bit of downtime, just, even a half an hour just of quiet space. And then also writing. So what I'm doing in my business actually really, truly does fuel me. I'm fortunate that way. So, yeah.
Well, finally to come full circle, boundaries are things that have to sometimes even be employed by parents with their children to allow children to have individuality and creativity. And so parents sometimes have to have boundaries where they don't interfere or cross the line and overpower the child. Now, I'm not saying that's what you do, but I'm looking at a really cute photo that's part of your imagery that you have out there for EmilyMadill.com. And I'm thinking about something else, but let me just describe to our listeners. It's a photograph of Emily dressed in a costume with her two children who are dressed in costumes, I guess principally for Halloween. One is Captain America, the other is Superman. They're cute as all get out. Each has a shield. You are in costume that complements what they're wearing with a mask so that you could be part of it. I assume this might have been done so that you could take them trick-or-treating or to go to a party or something. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have a tradition every year. We start in August, and the three of us always we do costumes that are kind of themed together.
Well, it's a wonderful photo. There are those people, though, that will try to cross the line and not know the boundaries and try to live vicariously through their children. This is not the example, but it reminded me to ask you about this. Parents, sometimes in this country they're called helicopter parents. They just hover too much over them with their schooling. Or they try to live vicariously through their children by getting them to play piano or to be in athletics when the child may not be talented in either area. Maybe the parents struggled and they saw the potential within their child, so they push, and that's when they go past the boundary with the child, and maybe the child will resent the parent because they didn't really want to play baseball or whatever it was. You follow what I'm saying?
I totally do, and I totally agree. I see it happening all the time, and I think it's such a disservice. And I know that, all parents have good intentions, but it's just like, I do believe that we need to, number one, make sure our kids are safe and healthy. And then number two, allow them to make those stumbles and to learn those things on their own and to hold that space for them where they can come to you and talk about that. I think that's the biggest thing. Like when we try to put our kids in a bubble and protect them from everything, it's just, it doesn't, I don't think in the long term it's helpful to them because eventually, they're going to have to cut the cord and be on their own. And so as hard as it is, I'm a parent, I get it. I mean, I think, I have the mama bear kind of thing that comes in inside of me too when I see my kids not being treated well or whatever that is. But I think, I had to go through all of those things, and I turned out okay. And I think, as a parent, make sure they're safe, but also allow them to kind of stretch their wings and to kind of figure things out too, and to be that sounding board for them and to stay open. To be able to come back and kind of talk about those things.
And we just got an email from someone who said, men do not have this problem unless there is something seriously wrong with them. Setting boundaries is psychobabble for women trying to fill men's shoes in the world. What's your reaction?
Well, whatever. I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I think, I think we're all human beings, and, men might be, a little bit more...
listen, I'm going to...
able to assert themselves. I totally disagree. I think we're all...
I have to say to the writer, and forgive me, Emily, I'm going to just unveil myself here and say that I am a person who did not know boundaries on many, many things, and as a result has paid some terrible prices for it. because I just naturally did not understand what boundaries are, and the things I had to learn. And I'm a guy of many years and many experiences, and two children who are almost grown, and there's always opportunities to learn. I think that to say that it is excluded from the male sex is an understatement of a real problem in this country. So
we're human beings. We're social beings as human beings, and of course it's not only strictly related to a gender. I mean, that's ridiculous, but whatever. I think there is that kind of sense out there, and I feel sorry for men that, and I'm raising two boys, and my husband's a very much a guy's guy, and it's for them to feel that they aren't, it's not socially acceptable to have feelings, or it's just, I don't know. I think we all have that within us. There's no different, no denying that there's a definite difference between men and women, but I think, we all are human beings, and
okay,
definitely all have this capacity. So.
Well, let us direct folks to Emily Madill's website, emilymadill.com. There you'll read about the books that she's written, the series, and she has an exciting new project she's going to share with us very soon. And there you can look for how to empower yourself and issues such as boundaries at that website. Emily joining us live today on WNDB. Miss Emily, thanks so much for the time. Always enjoyed chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.